In celebration of International Women's Day, AGBU hosted its second annual Women Shaping the World WSTW conference that took place in Manhattan's financial district. In attendance were mainly Armenian women entrepreneurs, as well as young Armenian women interested in embarking on their own entrepreneurial journey.
So this year we were delighted to be able to bring Women Shaping the World back to New York. We had our very first event in 2020, just before the world shut down. And so we were delighted to host again in person here in New York for 150 plus guests. And really the purpose of this event and many of our AGBU events is to connect the community here, celebrate the accomplishments and successes of our alumni, volunteers, donors, and really elevate the Armenian community on a global stage. Today's event featured women from across the globe, including non-Armenian and Armenian women, and also celebrated the successes of AGBU Empower Her, which is a program in Armenia uplifting women through their startup and scale-up programs, as well as other educational and job opportunity initiatives.
The conference featured high-profile female keynote speakers and panelists who have made transformational change through their careers, philanthropy, or volunteer work. The organizers of the conference believe that such events are beneficial to Armenian women not only in diaspora, but to women in Armenia as well.
An event like this, now more than ever, is critical for Armenia, for Armenian women in the diaspora, because when women come together, when we support each other, there's nothing that we can't do. So AGBU is beyond proud to prioritize this and to put this event together. I personally, as a young-ish Armenian woman, I benefit from this, from the energy that is created in this room and the ideas that are generated and the connections that are made.
I came from Armenia for two wonderful events in New York. First was yesterday. I was invited as a panel speaker for AIVA and UN Women event about STEM education for girls in schools. And we at STEMR, we are providing curriculum and STEM educational kits to public schools in Armenia. And also I'm very happy to be part of this event right now here, organized by AGBU, and so it's very, very important to have this kind of events which will empower all Armenians and will bring together to concentrate on one mission to succeed.
The conference started with opening remarks by Arda Haratunian, followed by the presentation of the opening keynote speaker, author, entrepreneur, and co-founder of Global School of Entrepreneurship, Shelby Scarborough. Shelby Scarborough began her career as a political appointee in the Reagan and Bush administrations and worked with some of the world's most elite leaders and heads of states. After her career in government, she started her own entrepreneurial journey, founding many successful ventures across several industries. In her presentation, she focused on several topics, including, among others, self-empowerment, the importance of civility, and finding joy in everyday life.
And I look at this as sort of my life as a quilt in that sense, that all of those people that shaped me and contributed to my life are kind of the threads on the patches of the quilt. So if all the patches are the things that have happened in my life, the thread that binds them together are all the people who've made such a difference in my life. So I'm wanting you to think about who are the people that have made a difference in your life, and have you thanked them? Have you acknowledged them? Can you do that? If you didn't, I encourage you to do it. It's really rewarding when you see what response people get when they are thanked for something that they weren't expecting to be thanked for. But I think of this as also in terms of a good model and a good image for civility. You know, if we are society, and society, the patches on the quilt are the countries or the states or the cities or the towns that we live in or our neighbors. And the stitches is the civility that binds us together. It's the thing that makes us a civilized people. It's the things that are important in life for us to pay attention to that bind us together, to make us one. And that's what seems to be missing these days. Have you felt like this is a response you get when you try to have a conversation about a difficult subject? Or have you done this? Have you said, oh, I cannot talk about this? I understand it. Everybody has those feelings. We get this, we get triggered. That's the big word. We're triggered, which I actually don't really like that word. I just like to say we need to think about the other person and listen to other people's perspectives, whether we agree or not. It's so important. It's so important in this democracy. It's important in burgeoning democracies. It's important for freedom in this world. I truly believe that that's how important civility is in society. Because if we don't have more than one voice in the room, we have no freedom.
This day-long conference also had an important networking component, where the attendees were able to gather in small groups representing specific industries, common interests, and topics to meet one another, share ideas, and socialize. Interest groups and topics included nonprofit and social impact, sales, entrepreneurship and innovation, government and law, finance and consulting, and many others. After lunch, the conference continued with a panel discussion moderated by independent film and television producer Alexis Alexanian. Among other accomplishments, Alexis Alexanian is widely recognized for her role in establishing the groundbreaking digital production company Indigent, and her work as a president of the board of New York Women in Film and Television. The first panelist was Zara Ingilisian, the head of consumer industries at the World Economic Forum. As the head of consumer industries at the World Economic Forum, she is accelerating consumer industry transition towards responsible models of consumption, in collaboration with leading CEOs, technology pioneers, academics, and civil society.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do at the World Economic Forum, which is what our mission is to advance responsible consumption for the benefit of society and business. The key word here is responsible, but ultimately it's designed to improve people's lives. So I work with consumer companies, CEOs, and C-suite to advance responsible consumption models that would ultimately improve people's lives. That has three key dimensions. There's a health and well-being dimension, there's a sustainable consumption dimension, and then there's a socioeconomic inclusion dimension. It's said differently, how do we preventatively create healthy populations so that they don't end up in a healthcare system in the first place? How do we do that in ways that are environmentally sustainable? And how do we ensure the masses have access to those goods and services? And the way we drive impact is we identify key challenges, and there's many. Obviously, in the health, and I'll just give you one example. In the health and well-being space, we have major challenges. Globally, we have a food system that is, yes, it's producing, for the most part, affordable, accessible food, but it's ultimately making people sick. So what we do is we bring actors together who wish to change that, who wish to drive transformation in that space. So we actually have a food system that is designed to deliver the nutritional and health needs of individuals.
The second panelist was Maral Kazanchian, Chief People Officer at Moody's, responsible for setting and overseeing an execution of the company's strategy to attract, grow, and retain extraordinary talent.
We were just having a cool conversation this morning in our panel discussion about that topic, about sort of understanding your worth and your place and asserting what you need and want when you're at a job. And
appropriately.
And the next generation, because 50% of our world is women, 50% of entry-level companies are women, 38% are first-level management, 28% are senior management, and a very small number are executives. That pyramid has to become untrue for, very simply, commerce to function. So we are in a powerful position to have agency and have authority to advocate for the careers that we want. And part of, I think, us sitting here today is to tell you that whatever you want, you can appropriately pursue. And people like us are here to help you, and you should feel very willing to say, and another area that I work a lot on is well-being and that work-life balance and finding, you know, how do I have a life and how do I have a family and how do I have a career? And it's all on all of us to help each other figure out that answer.
Yeah.
The third panelist was Victoria Waterman, CEO of Girls Inc. of Worcester, TEDx speaker and debut author, who made a lifelong career of advancing women and empowering girls.
Victoria, I just wanted to go back a second and talk about, you know, when we talk about skills and competency and models talking about creating culture, and you're talking about giving these girls who come from maybe a disenfranchised place or don't have quite enough resources to be the best that they can be, you know, what are like your basic tenets at Girls Inc. that you're, you know, what are you doing to drive their competency, to show them a world where they can skill up or what, you know, anyway, yeah. I think you get that.
So everything we do is around strong, smart, and bold, and those aren't just words, they have meaning behind them. So strong is physically strong, mentally strong. And so a lot of girls come from families where healthy eating is not something they're interested in or knowledgeable in. And so we show them different ways. We teach them about nutrition. And the smart is around academic success. I mean, math it's a myth that there is no proven research that boys are better than math than girls. It's not. And then the bold is really the big part, and we look at that as financial independence, self-sufficiency. A huge part of what we do is around STEM. And STEM is very important in terms of what it is: science, technology, engineering, and math. But here's why it's really important to girls. The reason why it's so important is that we know there's a direct correlation between women who stay in unhealthy relationships and their financial independence. Women stay when they can't afford to leave. So we want to empower girls to have self-sufficiency, a way of making their own money and understand the basics of finances so they can say, screw you, I'm out of here.
The panelist presentation concluded with an informative Q&A with the audience. Closing keynote speaker of the conference was political satirist, news personality, writer, and foreign policy expert Hajar Kemali. She is an adjunct professor at Columbia University's School of International and Public Affairs, and non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Geoeconomics Center. In her presentation, Hajar Kemali spoke about her distinguished career across senior public affairs and policy-making positions in the U.S. government. Hajar Kemali also spoke about her award-winning world news show, Oh My World, and gave career advice to the young women in the audience.
The mission of Oh My World is to raise awareness of world geopolitical events and world stories because they matter, and to do it in a fun and easy and entertaining way, because that's a good way to digest half of the depressing news that's out there. And it's rooted in this mission that by raising awareness and by giving viewers the tools to act, they end up affecting change. And so an example of that, for example, is when I put this past week, the Belarus's dictator, Alexander Lukashenko, was on my shit list. I have a shit list and a crush list. Are we allowed to curse? I'm cursing. So well, I have a shit list and a crush list. This week, Alexander Lukashenko was on my shit list for detaining a Nobel Peace Prize winner for 10 years in jail, and for also detaining in absentia Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, who's the presidential candidate who won the election. Evidence shows that she won the election in 2020, that she now lives in exile in Lithuania. So she was detained in absentia. And so this guy is so threatened. So I have a shit list. If you have, for example, if you tell people about what's happening in Belarus, a country that, you know, I'm gonna guess that most Americans don't know where it is totally, like maybe generally on a map, but not really exactly. And you tell people like Belarus, they're gonna look at you and like, why should I care about what's happening in Belarus? Maybe you care because Taiga was gonna do a concert in Belarus, and Alexander Lukashenko was funding that concert. It was a concert tied to the regime. And the Human Rights Foundation, which I do a lot of work with, they led a campaign publicizing this, and so that enough people could, of his own listeners and viewers, could tell Taiga, hey, you can't go to a concert in a dictatorship that ends up legitimizing this leader or propping him up. And he ended up canceling his concert. And so this is what I mean by spreading awareness of these issues and telling people just by tweeting about it or just by calling on your businesses or being a consumer or calling on your leaders or whatever, or your entertainers that you like, by calling on them to do the right thing, they end up changing their behavior that could affect change for the better. So I'm gonna end on some themes of what took me through my career and is still taking me through my career. So the very first one is that no matter what I pursued, no matter what chapter I was in, I always believed in myself. And I don't know where that came from. I was born, my mom says I was born overconfident. It's literally written in this like scrapbook she kept for me as a 3-year-old. And she said it negatively, like, oh, Hagar is overconfident. And I'm like, maybe overconfident is a good thing. So but that confidence is what literally gave me always, at every chapter, it was this sense that I could do this, I could tackle this challenge, I can achieve this, I can win that, I can get that goal. And the more challenging it was, or the more people told me no, the more motivated I was to do it. So always, number one, this deep-seated belief that I could do it. And that was no matter what chapter, or no matter what endeavor I pursued. The second was, I have, and I'm sure you can sense this, a deep passion for what I do. I love what I do. But every chapter, I have loved what I have done. And the moment I don't, the moment I sense like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like waking up for this job. I'm dragging my feet. Maral mentioned this. Where is she? She mentioned that like that even if next step, when I left the White House and as director for Syria and Lebanon, I had senior Middle East jobs thrown at me. And I was like, I don't want this anymore. I don't like it anymore. I don't like waking up to this job. And I was at the White House where people dreamt to be. I knew I wanted to shift careers and make a pivot to media and public affairs. The third part for sure has been my network of mentors and champions. And this is a key part in my success. I have collected I call them champions because they literally champion me, and have collected them along the way from, their former bosses and friends and leaders. Arda, who asked me to come here, is a friend and a mentor. And the last thing that I will mention is that I work like a dog. I'm not gonna lie. I have always worked like a dog. The younger generation doesn't like to hear this. And also, before I forget, I'm like going all over the place. Don't forget, please, to subscribe to Oh My World. It's free, it's on YouTube. I am this close to 6,000 subscribers. Sounds small, but that's big in the YouTube world. So please click subscribe on that, on that button. And know that whatever you tackle, if you believe in yourself, you will achieve it.
As the second annual Women Shaping the World conference came to the close, AGBU's important ongoing mission and work of celebrating, uplifting, and helping to improve the status of women everywhere continues.